We're back, ladies and gentlemen. New background, but we're back. It's entertainment 411. It's all things entertainment, all things television, film, commercials, web series. That guy that just came to your door and asked you if you wanted to join his cult. All that stuff is here. We have it here on the show. Why the last part? I don't know. Doesn't matter. Guys, we're back. I'm back. Entertainment 411. I gotta change that picture. It's a little snarky, a little pouty face. Guys, I have a guest for you. Yes, I do. Mr. Canada showrunner, Mr. I do television, Mr. I write, I produce, I direct, I am funny, I'm a comedian. I'm not talking about just anybody, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are talking about the, wait for it, I can hear it. The Anthony, do not forget the Q, Farrell. Come on to the stage, brother. Come on up here. Come on up here.
Hey, there I am.
Hey. Anthony, man, I'm always, as you know, a big fan, and thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure. It is honestly like anytime I could do one of these cool shows with cool people, I'm like, yeah, I like talking. I like talking with people. I like talking about stuff I know. Yeah, I'm down. Let's go.
I appreciate it, man. Guys, if you guys are not aware of who Anthony Farrell is, get your head out of a rock, first of all. Second of all, Anthony, of course, is a creator, writer, and showrunner extraordinaire. You guys know the shows he's worked on and created. I'm just going to list off a couple of them because let's just boost it up a little bit, right? I'm sure you guys heard of Run the Burbs. I'm sure you guys heard of Shelved. I'm sure you guys heard of The Office. Yes, Anthony Q. Farrell has obviously dipped his toes and also created these shows. Some of them, of course. Now, I got to start off just by asking you a first question before we get into the trailer, because we're going to show you some of the work you've done. But the first question that everyone wants to know and that anybody who comes on the show kind of starts off with is, how did you start? Where did you find your love for this business? I know it's not an easy question to answer in probably like 5 seconds, but give us the Coles notes of like the journey.
All right, journey. So I was one of those, I was born a Black child in Toronto, Ontario. I think when I was a kid, I had a little bit of a spark of like, I like performing. Like back then, like you used to have to go to the, you have to write your little speech and do it in front of the class. And if you did a good job in front of the class, you go down and do it in front of the gym. So I wrote speeches that were like fun and funny. I remember grade 6, I did one called My Saturday Night, and I had a little remote control, and I was like, 8 o'clock, it's the Golden Girls. 11:30, I sneak back downstairs and watch Saturday Night Live. And it was just like a bunch of, so then I was like, oh, I like this. High school, did some theater, university. Both my parents are accountants. So in my mind, I didn't think the industry was like a realistic thing for me. So my plan was to become like a high school teacher. And my plan was going to be, I'll teach math and I'll teach drama. That'll be fun.
Right.
So I went to university with a double major in math and drama. And as I was doing plays and acting and stuff and, directing and doing writing and doing all these things, I started realizing I like this. I like that a lot more than the math. I was good at math, but I liked the theater a lot more, to the point where I started getting cast in theater things. And after my 3rd year university, I was in Vermont doing summer stock theater, and I was with a bunch of other Broadway professionals, like people who were doing it for real in their real lives as adults. And I started realizing, oh, some people do this for a living.
Yeah.
That's when I started getting, I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is a path here. And I remember my mom, my parents are from St. Kitts and Nevis. She drove down to Vermont. She watched me in a play, and it was like professional and big and all these things. And she'd seen me do like high school theater and university theater, but this was like for real. And she looked at me and she's like, so you're doing this, huh? And I was like, I think so.
And then she went,
I think so. No, but here's what she did. She went, and that grunt, she didn't say, what wrong with you? She didn't say anything. She didn't do anything. She just went, That grunt was enough for me to be like, oh, I think she's okay with this.
Yeah.
And then when I got back to school, I ran with it. I focused on the theater. So I turned my double major into a major in theater and a minor in math. I went to comedy school. After that, I went to one of my professors was like, "There's this new comedy school they're doing at Humber. You can do stand-up, improv, sketch, like learn how to write." So I did that for a year, and then after that, I felt like, okay, I'm gonna try making this business. But I got married to my high school sweetheart. She had a green card, and so it was like we had to move to the States. So I moved to Atlanta right after I finished school.
Wow.
In Atlanta for 3 years, and then we moved to LA in 2004. And then that's when, for me, I didn't know how I was going to break into the business. So I did everything. I was doing stand up, I was doing improv at the Groundlings, I was doing theater, writing plays, acting in plays. I put together a sketch troupe. I was attacking the industry from every which way, all while working a day job. So I was working like 9 to 5, countrywide home loans, faxing things, doing PowerPoint presentations and assisting and doing whatever I had to do. Then at night, I come home or have dinner with my wife, I rub her feet. When she fell asleep, I go act, or I go write, or I go do stand-up or improv or whatever. And so that hustle was what I was doing, and for a couple of years. The theater thing led to a meeting with a literary manager. And that woman is still my literary manager 20 years later. And that opened the door for a bunch of different things. Started meeting executives and started getting interviews. In 2007, my first big break was getting a job writing on The Office. So it was 2007. I was 30. I've been doing it for a little while, trying to figure out a way into the industry, and that was my first big break. And and you find out, you're realizing, we're going to get into it more, but you realize once you get the job, you've worked really hard to get here, but then you got to work even harder to stay there, right? So that's
big time.
That's the hustle. Yeah.
Yeah. We both, me and Anthony just found out recently we're both from the Caribbean, so we bonded. He's like, "I know you from Trinidad."
Yeah, I was like, look at that.
You know what's crazy? Like, it's kind of, I'm listening to your story, and my journey was like slightly similar. Like I did a theater show. I didn't know that this was a thing. I was doing theater, and my dad was like, "Pretty good at this. You do it? Cool. All right, cool." He's a hard Persian man, and walked away. And I also got into the comedy program, but I went to the acting fulfillment program, which is in the same building.
Yep.
And I always wonder what happens if I went the other way, but I ultimately went that way. So it's funny because just like I can relate, like, know what's the journey to this business. There's no like school for becoming a showrunner, or a school for becoming a producer, or school for anything of that matter. It's kind of like you have to fall into it, roll into it gracefully.
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to hear, like, even someone as successful as yourself had to go through the, "Oh, okay, sure." Like,
I was like, "Oh, this is an actual job people do? Well, how does that work?"
100%. And you brought up a really good point, is, it's not just getting the job and getting there. This is a very volatile business, as I'm sure you know. It's staying there. It's what have you done for me lately, is what this industry, I think, is. So I guess the question to follow up with that is, before we go to a nice little teaser of some of the work you've done, is, what did you do in the earlier stages to keep your head up, to stay positive, to sort of, think, okay, like, because you're married too, you have your sweetheart at home. It's like, it's family time. You got to take care of your family. What kept you driven? I mean, other than the fact that you love what you do.
Yeah, I mean that first part is a big part, right? Like, loving what you do. Like, for me, even when I wasn't making a lot of money, I was getting to make people laugh on stage. I was doing plays with my friends. I was doing stand up. So it was still, I was having a lot of fun doing what I was doing. And for me, as you're coming up, there's so many opportunities. You think, oh, if this had just broken this way, or that would have just broke. You feel like you're missing so many things. Like, there's so many nearly successful moments in the journey that you're like, "Oh man, am I ever gonna make it?" Yeah. For me, the thing that kind of kept pushing me was that I felt like not only was I good at it, but I felt like I was saying something other people weren't saying, and I felt like I was saying something unique and different. And I was like, there's a space for my voice. I just have to find that crack in the system, and then squeeze my whole body in it. Get into that crack. He's like, "Here I am, world. Look at me." So I think for me it was a little bit of that, like believing in yourself, obviously, bet on yourself, and just thinking like, and I think also seeing the further you go, the longer you're doing it, the more people you meet, the more like connected you get to the industry. That it becomes like you start to see the people who are successful. You start to have conversations with them, and you realize, oh, there's not a ton of difference between us. It's just sometimes it's just about preparation meeting opportunity. I mean, people talk about that a lot, right? Like preparation has to meet opportunity. You have to prepare. I was writing a lot. I was performing a lot. I was doing a lot of things. I was getting myself ready so that when an opportunity came, I was ready, right? And so for me, it was a lot of just like putting the work in and just trying to find ways to get better at what I was doing, so that when I finally met someone, that they wouldn't be able to deny me, because I was, it was like, obviously he's ready for this.
Right.
So that's kind of how for me it was like, and I think the journey, like I think a lot of people don't realize how important the journey is, not only to like try to enjoy it. It's hard to enjoy because you feel like you're failing a lot of times, and that's part of this business, is a lot of rejection.
Mm-hmm.
But that journey, especially if you're a writer or someone who's like being creative and doing stuff, that journey, it will help you to find your voice later, help you to tell stories later, help you, like if you tap into those moments from your, on your way to where you are, like those are the stories, those are the things that are going to connect you to characters and to people that you can utilize in your work.
100%. That's that's probably the biggest skill set to have in this business, is the longevity and the what's the word? The constant positive thought process of, oh, I didn't get this one, but it's going to be the next one. Yeah. Shut up, dog. My chihuahua.
Oh.
Yeah, she's like this big. Hey, stop it. I'm with Anthony Q. Farrell on right now live. You can't be barking. Okay, she's going to bark twice.
She's like, tell him I said hi.
Yeah, what's going on? Hey. Yeah, longevity and like, keeping that positivity is a very tough thing, especially for like the actors and the writers, even writers, because sometimes you don't see immediate success. You can't see like, it's not like there's like a, hey, I wrote this one line on a show. It's either you're in or you're out.
Exactly. You're either in the room or you're not in the room, right? Yeah, and so 100%. This is one of those things where it's like, you can't really see it's hard to like, it's hard to look at your own eyeballs with your eyes, right? You can't see the journey when it's happening, but it's like, it's about finding ways to look back on it once, the further you go. And I think you'll start to put together, that path, and you realize the path wasn't simple, but it was important.
100%. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, we have a contest, and Anthony has blessed us with a contest prize. Charlene, can we get the contest in the bottom? Look at that. Wow, that was right on cue. We're connected. One-on-one chat session with Anthony Q. Farrell. Okay, it's very simple. You type #MeetAQF. #MeetAQF on the Facebook stream, please. If you do it on the Instagram, we won't see it, and it will not connect with the contest. And my other dog starts barking. He wants to win this contest. I got 14 dogs. No, I'm kidding. So, hey, ladies and gentlemen, #AQF on the bottom of the Facebook comment section, please. You can follow us on eBoss Canada. Watch it live and type it in there for your chance to win a one-on-one Zoom session with Anthony Q. Farrell. Great place to pick his brain, ask him the questions that I'm asking him. But while we're here, and if you're tuning in, feel free to pop your questions in the comment section as well. And if we have some time at the end, I will pick some questions to ask Mr. Farrell for you on your behalf. But while we do that, let's take a quick break and take a look at some of the work that Anthony has worked on. I'm sure you guys have seen this on CBC. Run the Burbs.
Ta-da! Welcome home, baby girl!
Dad, I told you not to make a big deal out of this.
But I had a coupon.
My precious little Sakura! You have literally never called me that before. Why are we doing this?
This is family bonding time. 1, 2, 3.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Do I look like Rockbridge's new community development coordinator or what?
You're gonna do great.
I've got plans on plans on plans. Rockbridge slides, scorching hot sheets of metal. If I get the job, I'm gonna swap out these prehistoric butt burners for plastic ones. Walk it off, Alex. Plus, Cam Fam Eats is about to take off.
What bam? I got plans on plans on plans on plan.
Cam Pam. It looks like it says Cam Pam.
I did.
Did not notice that before registering the name. You want to join? We need a little youth demographic.
Kind of a big day. Gonna poke the skunk.
Y'all know what poke the skunk means, right? Obviously. It means no results.
Theo, my boy, it has been too long since you spent the weekend.
Nanaji, I'm so sorry. I thought...
You thought wrong.
That is Run the Burbs. Anthony, you joined season 2 of that series, of course.
I did indeed.
Great show filled with comedians extraordinaire.
Yeah,
love me some Andrew Fung. Love me some Raki. Love me some Ali Hassan. Like, great all-star cast there. Tell us about it. Like, what was? Did you know them in the? I'm sure you do know them from the comedy circuit. But any fun stories? How are you approached to be on the show?
So many fun stories. That show was great to work on. They came to me after season 1. The showrunner from season 1 was going on to something else, and he wasn't coming back. So they were like, "We need a new showrunner." And I remember them being like, "Well, let's just check in on Anthony and see what's going down." So they did, and I had some time, and I loved the first season. I thought Shebly Zagami, who was the showrunner for the first season, did such a great job with Andrew and Scott building that world. And I'm a big, I was connected to the show in a bunch of different ways because as a dad of 2 kids who lives in the suburbs with, it just felt like I was like, well, I'm just going to be literally tapping into my life to help write this show. And so the marriage was perfect. And Andrew is so much fun to work with, and Scott, his co-creator, like they're both so great. Like we hit the ground running with a bunch of fun story ideas and just finding ways to the sophomore season of a show is always a little bit it's not difficult, but it's kind of like you have to kind of choose how you're gonna move these characters because it kind of leads to a lot of different things in future seasons, right? So we kind of had a really good plan about just how can we engage Andrew and Camille, the parents, and then get them to be even more so that they can be inspiring their kids to do more with themselves as well, right? So it was one of those things where we kind of got into the writer's room, put together a plan for the season, and then we just went at it. And we just, I think we had a lot of fun putting it together. And then when we were shooting it, there was just so many great performers that came through. Like you mentioned, a whole bunch of them who were in the main cast of the show. It was great. I just went to the Canadian Screen Awards on, saw each other on Saturday, and a bunch of them were there. So I got to kind of hug everybody and say hello. And it was, it was great.
Yeah, great series. Happy for Andrew. It was great to have him have his own series. He earned that. Rocky's hilarious. I worked with her on a theater project years ago, and to see her grow into where she from. You see the success. You worked with her in a little tiny factory theater sort of cohort, and then all of a sudden, I was on Moonshine, and she was on Burbs, and we're like, "Yo, we did it, CBC boys!" so.
And then the good on CBC to take the chance to make a show with a BIPOC family lead, right?
Yes.
I think you could see people were hungry for it. A lot of people, anytime they would do events, people were all over them. You know what I mean? Because people are we want this representation, we want this family, we need
100%.
more of this. So it was great.
You mentioned in a workshop we were in together that you're there's a hesitation for this kind of thing. I used to joke about it when I did some commercials in the room, and it's one brown guy and an Asian girl, and it's one of us ain't getting this. You won't get a white partner, and I'm gonna get a white partner. It's one of the two. So we better figure it out now. So you said so hilariously at this workshop, you're you said sometimes you're oh, we don't know if there's an audience for this, but you mentioned you see how many people come flocking to these stars. There's an audience for it. You know what I mean? There is an audience for it. It exists. We just gotta find it. Guys, people tuning in live. This always happens to me. I'm tuning in live with Anthony. Both my dogs are barking. My accountant is calling me right now. I apologize for all the interruptions. This is insane. Everybody leave me alone. If you're watching this live, shut the hell up. I'm talking to Anthony. All right?
Farid is busy.
I'm busy, man. We're live. I want to talk to you about a really funny series that you created, and it is the most out of this world, no pun intended, show with the most out of this world title. I remember when I taped for this thing too. I was like, "What in the hell is this?"
Yes.
So, give me a quick little overview of Overlord and the Underwoods. Please tell me about this.
Overlord and the Underwoods is a series about. Okay. The way I always explain it is like it's kind of like Alf, but if
Yes.
Alf were Darth Vader. So
Okay.
it's this evil villain who is the second worst villain in the entire cosmos. He is in witness protection with this family on Earth, this lovely family, the Underwoods. They happen to be seventh cousins once removed, and he's hiding from, he's hiding from his old boss on Earth, and he's an evil villain. So he's gonna keep doing evil villain stuff. Like that's how he rolls. So it's kind of like a funny Darth Vader living with this family, and he's just kind of going through life with this family, and they're really sweet, and he is really, evil. So it's the butting of heads while he's trying to get this family to be more of a jerk, and they're trying to get him to be a nicer person. So it's a lot. It was a lot of fun. Basically, it was like I'm a super sci-fi nerd, so it was an opportunity to basically do a bunch of episodes that would tap into my sci-fi nerd.
You live in a dream, man. That's a dream. That's a dream show to create. Because I would love to be a fly on the wall in that pitch room. I would love to see the executive just sitting there, be like,
yeah,
okay.
It was crazy because we did think. We had like an episode where we shrunk person. We had an episode where the kid gets shrunk. So we had like a Honey I Shrunk the Kids episode.
I love it.
We had episodes where there are like bounty hunters chasing and attacking. It was like we had it all. We had a good time doing all the stupid things. Sorry, you were going to ask a question.
No, I was gonna say, just like, did you do the pitch and then after we're like, also I was on The Office. So I was a little like.
I mean, I would do that part first so I could get.
I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing. Listen to this.
Like, listen, we're gonna make this work. Yeah. It was interesting and that was an interesting one because there were actually 3 broadcasters attached to it creatively. So, and they all kind of wanted slightly different shows. So we had CBC here in Canada, we had Nickelodeon UK, which was taking care of the international audience, and then we had BYU TV in the States. So they knew it was going to be a family-friendly show. At one point CBC was like, "Oh, if you can make it a little bit more prime time, that'd be great." Nickelodeon was like, "We don't care about what the parents are doing. We just want the kids to be really funny." Right. BYU was like, "We want something for families to watch together." And I was like, "Okay, well, we can make that show, and it'll work for all of you." And the interesting thing was when you had notes from different broadcasters that would kind of like conflict, and then you as a showrunner having to kind of like navigate all those things. And for me, the way I handled it was not trying to hide anything. I was just very transparent about like, well, Nickelodeon UK really wants more farts in this scene. So that's what's going on. That's why this fart's here. I know you don't like fart jokes, but Nickelodeon UK really needs them. So then we're gonna do it respectfully though. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's having all those conversations where we're kind of like getting everyone to kind of negotiate certain things if they wanted certain things for their specific audience. That was a lot of fun. And also another big fun thing about it was the guy who designed Overlord and the Overlord's little psychic character ROFL was a man named Roger Christian. And Roger Christian is famous for inventing the lightsaber. He was an art director on the original Star Wars. So having conversations with Roger Christian where he was just kind of like, "Oh, I remember talking to George," and just referring to George Lucas as George is the first thing I was like, man, I can't handle this conversation. So it was just I'll just pick. There's a lot of times where I had to tell myself, Anthony, get back to work and stop asking this man Star Wars questions. So it was great. So there's a lot of fun connected to that show that I love. And it's funny too, like having like, especially my son was, when that show came out, I think my son was like 7 or 8, and he especially loved watching that series, and I loved watching him get all like just really enjoy all the jokes and stuff. So it was perfect.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's amazing when you can make a series that the youngin's gonna enjoy and be
proud. Yeah, it was great.
Daddy, you made that? Yes, sir. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a very important question that requires a very important answer, and I'm going to ask it to you. And you have to answer this question no matter what.
Uh-oh.
What color would your lightsaber be?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I think I would go purple. I'd go full
I had a
mace.
feeling. I had a feeling you Mace Windu looking.
I would go full mace. I'll be like, you know what? Give me the purple.
The purple's
Give me
dope.
that.
You know the lore.
That's dope.
I don't know if the lore is. It's so funny how Star Wars nerds are like Star Wars nerds, and it's like, yeah, it's purple because he's pulling between the dark side and the light side, and that's how you get the purple. And his fight style is this. And then like George Lucas has an interview. He's like, yeah, Samuel L. Jackson was like, can it be purple? And he's like, yeah, we can make it purple. Like that's, I think, how it went down.
Yep, that sounds exactly right. Like that's exactly how these. You're right. We like to be like, oh, the story behind this.
That's a great. I love that. That lore is amazing. That makes all the sense to me. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's torn between the two, and he's just like kind of. What's your favorite one? What's your favorite trilogy? Like, are you gonna go OG? Are you gonna go prequel? Are you gonna go?
I think it's still the 4, 5, 6. I think it's Star Wars, Empire, and then Return of the Jedi. Out of the 9, I think that's my favorite. Those are my favorite 3 for sure.
See, I'm with you, but I just love the Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon fight with Maul and that music. I know it's
listen.
The din, din,
that
din,
is a great.
din, din, that for me is
That is
I'll watch
a
that
classic. That is a classic fight. That is a classic fight. I have issues with that movie just because of how stereotypical of those characters are. I was just remember watching, just being like, all right.
Yeah, Darth Jar Jar was a bit of an issue.
We've got to talk about stereotype. And I understand, like, structurally and as a writer, like George Lucas was trying to write something that people would be like, okay, I get this very quickly. And he just kind of used stereotypes to kind of like create a bunch of aliens and then just try to use our own weaknesses against us.
These guys are savages. Okay.
Yeah. These guys like money. Like, all right, okay, just man, this is we gotta be careful here, bro.
It's so bad. It's absolutely
that's the part I'm just like, I can't.
I know. I forgot all about those parts. I just watched that fight scene.
I know, but that fight scene is epic. Like that all the Darth Maul stuff.
What about the okay? We're gonna get off this. I'm sorry, folks watching. We're gonna off this soon. But do you like the anime, like the cartoons, Rebels? And
I do.
That?
I have I like. I mean, I've watched Clone Wars and I've watched. I have to catch up on the Bad Batch and
same. That's the one that last.
But they're good. Like, you know, they're all good. And I loved, like, because the reason I got into them is because after I watched Solo and I saw that Darth Maul was back, I was like, I don't understand what's happening. I have to go back and figure this out. And so that's what I was like, I'm gonna go back and watch all the cartoons so I can see.
Right.
And they're great.
They're great.
Yeah. I was like, oh shoot, like this is quite excellent. And then that's when I became a big Dave Filoni fan, and then I realized, like, once he took over all the other stuff, I was like, okay, we're gonna be okay.
Yeah, Ezra Bridger is my Rome. That was the character.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah, I had the long hair, purple contacts. I was ready, man. I was ready.
I love it.
My agent was on it. That you made a great point. We're talking about stereotypes. I mean, it's a kind of a terrible segue, but I will segue because that is what I do.
All right.
Let's talk about being a BIPOC member of this community, and I hate to always like narrow in on this kind of stuff because at the end of the day, man, I truly believe that your success is based purely on your talent. And I think anyone with talent, drive, passion, and, you know, determination will get to where they want to be no matter what the hell the color of skin is. And a lot of times I always preach that I don't ever want to book a part on the flip side because of the color of my skin. Like, I hate when they're like, we're looking for a brown guy. Look for a guy. And if I'm the right guy, I'm the right guy.
Yeah.
So my question is going to be like, this is going to be soft, but, you know, have you found in your journey, in your career, before Anthony Q. Farrell was a household name, that there was any sort of resistance because of the color of your skin? Have you ever found the stories that you're telling, you know, harder to pitch and harder to sell because it wasn't relatable to others who are in power in the business? You know what I'm saying?
The answer is absolutely yes. Not only before I became Anthony Q. Farrell, but even after I had accolades. Right. Even after I had won a BAFTA and a bunch of different awards, been nominated for an Emmy, I still had trouble convincing different people that stories for marginalized individuals were compelling enough to bring in an audience, even after so many examples of the truth being the opposite of that, right? Like it's frustrating to me because you look at how, you know, I love watching TV. I'm a big TV historian. I look at how places like Fox and even like NBC, like how those broadcasters built their audiences. They found shows with Black families. That's kind of how they started like building a lot of their show. You look at Fox, like they had like Martin and Living Color, like back in the 90s. They had a bunch of different shows. Then once they had the people and once they had the audience, they kind of siphoned those shows off to the side. They ended up on the WB or UPN or one of those other things, and then they started focusing on, you know, more shows with like white characters. But they didn't. The way that they built it was by bringing in Black audiences first, built it, and then dropped them. I think NBC kind of did a lot of the same thing, like you know, Cosby Show, like Different World, like a lot of their focus in the 80s, 90s was like, you know, how do we bring in Black families and then build it from there? And then, you know, I found like there was a lot more Black families on TV in the 80s and 90s than there were in the 2000s and 2010s, right? Which is a kind of a crazy thing, but it's the truth, right? It's kind of so they got, and I think what happens too is like when there's a lot of money and a lot of opportunities and things are flowing, they're okay giving some of the opportunities and some of the money to people on, you know, marginalized peoples. But then when things get tight, those are the first ones to go. Those 100%. Are the first ones to get dropped. And then you're focusing on, you know, a lot of white families and white characters for a long time. And then when the things get better again, okay, then we'll let you back in a little bit here and there. Oh, things are tight. Drop them again. You know, last in, first out, this whole situation, right? So and it's still, I mean, for me, even up to this year and last year, I've been having situations where I was like, oh, okay, like I'm not moving forward on this because there's a fear that these characters or this family is not going to garner the same type of audience that a white family would bring in, right? And it's frustrating, but it's another thing. One of those things. It's another one of those things where it's like it is a part of the business. The gatekeepers of these broadcasters are who they are, and you know, I think that's just another one of those things where we have to you kind of have to, you know, it's not anything new. You have to. They tell you all the time you have to work twice as hard for half as much. Like it doesn't. It's just because it's a television industry doesn't mean that changes. It's the same kind of vibe. Now, I will also say, like, I know you're talking about like not getting jobs because you're Black or because you're a person of color or any of those things, but if it weren't for certain things, if it weren't for certain programs, like, and it's a double-edged sword, right? Like I got my job writing on The Office because it was a diversity hire. It was a diversity spot. Right. What that meant was the studios would basically pay for a diverse writer to be in a writer's room for the first two, which is great for the first 2 seasons. The double-edged sword is now they stop looking at diverse writers for bigger roles on writers' rooms because they're like, oh, well, they're only going to be in those spots as opposed to just being in a bunch of different roles in a bunch of different places. It kind of pigeonholed a lot of diverse writers because it was like, well, they've got these 2 spots. They got the spot in the writer's room, and that's for diverse writers. So I'm only going to look at you for that spot, not to move on to like becoming a big. So a lot of diverse writers, like you look at like even myself or people like, you know, like Kenya Barris and the other people like that, like you see them, they're the staff writer, which is like the lowest position in the writer's room. They're the staff writer over and over and over again. Then when they make their own show, they're executive producer. But if you look at the journey of a lot of white writers, they go staff writer, executive story editor, co-producer, supervisor. They kind of climb the ladder in the way that they're normally expected to do as a writer. You kind of build you kind of build your credits as you go. Whereas for a lot of like diverse writers, you'd be there for a year, 2 years, and then you go back to the bottom of the rung on a different show, year to year, back to the bottom, because they're only hiring you for those diversity spots. And there's a whole bunch of us here. Like we need to figure out a way to. So there was a good and bad side to it, which is I got an in, but then I had to kind of like keep on going through that revolving door where I was like, I get back in somewhere else and I get back in somewhere else. And then it wasn't until I became the creator of my own show that I leapfrogged that staff writer position to become a consulting producer on a show and then an executive producer on my own shows. So it's a weird thing. Then there's a lot of diversity initiatives, a lot of different things that the studios do, which I think it's all great. And I think they're doing a better job of figuring out how to make them so you don't have that double-edged sword situation. And I think the more people of color you have in positions of power, the easier it will be for those systems and those programs to be run in a equitable and more sensible way. That's what I think they were moving in the right direction. And then recently, in the last year or two after the strike, a lot of DEI programs have just been cut and tossed to the side. And so we'll see how things go in the next little while. Hopefully it's all right. I think it'll be all right. I think we're gonna
all right. Yeah, it's gonna be all right.
Yeah.
I was talking more.
We'll get back to it.
I was talking more extreme on my end as an actor of like, my characters start off as like Egyptian guard number 3 and Mohammed.
Yeah.
And that kind of shit. That's what's where I was. Those positions you're talking about, yes, a little bit better, but yes, I can see the double-edged sword pigeonhole situation where it's like, we're not going to bother because these guys are going to fill this little box here.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you stay there. Cool.
But the more people like me you have in writers' rooms, the better chance that you're not going to have to deal with those like Egyptian guard number 3 roles because it'll be like
number 2.
No, like number 2. My bad, King. My bad. My bad. But like it's like that's how you see shows like Run the Burbs, right? Like where you're like, yes. Oh no, they're leads. Like they're the and Andrew always talks about like when you see these TV shows where like the diverse family is like the friends that live down the street. Like no. Change the angle, change the focus so that family becomes the center, and then all the other families become like the families down the street. And I think it's one of those things where you get that once you have people in positions of power where they can make those decisions and start to do to make some real change.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, wise words, my friend. That is well spoken and well said. First of all, again, I want to thank you for being here. We're going to take a quick break, ladies and gentlemen, because people got pee. We don't want, they gotta take our dogs outside. I'm just kidding. Guys, we're going to take a quick little short commercial break. We're going to be right back. Don't forget, we're here with Anthony Q. Farrell. Go on Facebook and enter Meet AQF. Meet AQF, the hashtag. We're going to pull a winner. It's going to get a one-on-one session on Zoom with Mr. Farrell. So we'll be right back after these messages. Oh,
aliens are real.
I can't keep a straight face.
He's my mom's 7th cousin once removed.
I'm incredibly interesting.
Cool, right?
You're an alien, aren't you?
Family meeting right now.
Human family.
Your mother wants nothing to do with me. My own flesh and blood. You think you know your 7th cousin once removed?
We promised he could stay with us to keep him safe. Kalasitrata still has goons scouring the galaxy for him.
Overlord! No Overlord's here.
She's a bounty hunter.
God, we got your back. If you want Overlord, you're gonna have to go through me.
I'm the one you want. Take me.
That cosmic vacuum was a bounty hunter?
You're welcome.
Actors, I know you feel like you're sending your self-tapes into the void because you've told me time and time again, and I feel you, and you're not alone. That's exactly why I created the Callback Collective, a monthly private community for actors. It's a nice low-pressure way to stay consistent, get better at self-directing, build your confidence, and finally feel like you're not doing this alone. Every month, you get a live Q&A with me. You get access to a ton of resources. You get a self-tape challenge. And then there's going to be a live Zoom where we go through your self-tape and I give you adjustments and feedback on the spot. You get to redo it like a callback. And you also get access to this private, beautiful, growing community. It's like a gym class, sort of, but for actors. No judgment, real growth, supportive community. So whether you're just starting out or getting back into the groove of things, this is the accountability, and support you've been missing. So join the Callback Collective today. There is a special sale for eBoss listeners for a limited time. So join now, get in for June. We're just getting started, and I can't wait to work with you. See you soon.
That was a message from, of course, one of our former guests, Jessica Greenberg, casting director. So please, guys, take a look at that. We will add the link into the description below. We're joined with Anthony Q. Farrell, showrunner extraordinaire, all-around good guy.
Me.
It's him. Take a look at all his Funkos on top there. You can't look. What? Whoa! God,
So many Funko Pops.
That's a lot. I started giving mine away. I had a couple hockey ones, but I think I might start giving away. Dust. Yeah, we're back, guys. We're talking all things Entertainment 411. We're talking about all things industry, all things TV, film, and etc., etc., etc. Anthony, I'm going to go to the audience because it's kind of a segue to my question I was going to ask you earlier, but a long-time listener has asked you about current projects. Can you speak on any current project that you're working on right this moment, right now, in this?
Oh boy.
That you're
Okay, I can't talk too much about this one, but there's a big project I'm working on right now that is like kind of like a faux docu series on a big Canadian icon, and we're gonna be shooting that this summer, and there'll be more information on that in probably in the next couple of weeks. You'll hear more about it.
Amazing.
I'm
sure that you created yourself as well.
It's a show I created, and I'm executive producing and showrunning, and
awesome.
It's a big one.
It's
a juicy one. Yeah, absolutely. And then in terms of like other things, like I'm always developing kind of interesting TV shows, and I'm just trying to think what can I talk about. Okay. This is what I'll say. I'm developing dramas. I'm developing comedies. I have a sketch show that I put together with called These Triggas. We got 2 sketches online. These Triggers is about the specific triggers that Black Canadians deal with. Because UK has like a Black sketch show called Farrelll. America has so many Black sketch shows like Key and Peele and Chappelle Show and Living Color. I was like, we can need like, and I know some Black Canadians have tried in the past and they just have not had the backing to do it. So I was like, let me try and figure out a way to move this forward. So we started a sketch show called These Triggas. You can see the 2 sketches on the YouTube. What else? I mean, I'm trying to think what else is happening that I can talk to you about. I'll say this. Well, what?
That you're allowed to talk about.
That I'm allowed to talk about. I am developing a fun show about a Black family that moves to Muskoka called Black to Nature.
Love it.
My friend Aisha Alf and I, we created that show together. We're trying to find a home for it right now, which is great. I'm doing I've got a couple of feature films that I'm trying to write and sell. I'm in the middle of what can I say about this one? I'm in the middle of writing something that would be a feature film that one of the characters, Idris Elba, is attached to play. So that's fun.
Oh shoot!
That's a fun thing. I don't know. That's just enough to whet your appetite. I can't give you all the stuff, but that's
who was the actor?
I know. There's this young British actor he's been in a couple things. He's an up and comer. Idris Elba.
That guy, French guy. Yeah. He's from Quebec.
Yeah, I think this is what he is. Yeah, that's about right.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a contest. Keep entering, guys. We're here with Anthony Q. Farrell. We're talking all things entertainment. If you have some pressing questions, please, now is the time to ask. This man is a golden nugget of information. He is the ore that you want to just mine and drain. That's really descriptive. I don't know where I was going with that analogy. just suck all of the knowledge out of his brain. Vampire style.
Vampire style.
This is the guy to ask.
Few teeth, just like
That's actually a funny sketch. That's actually a funny sketch. Vampires who have a fetish for like men
just brain.
Or shaved heads, clean heads.
Yeah, I want to suck your bald head. Eat your brains. It's like a zombie vampire. Yeah, zombie vampire. All right, we're on it.
We're on that one.
I'm,
We'll call it
to answer
Zach-
your question, Jonathan, I'm also now developing a show called Zombie Vampires.
right now. And Farid will have no stake in it. None. He's the guy who created.
You're the lead. You're the lead zombie vampire. You're the lead.
It's got zombie vampire is a little clunky. It's got to be like Zampire or
Vampire. Okay.
A Vombi.
Vombi. Yeah, Vombi works.
Or a Vampy. No, it's just
Vampy.
Vampy sounds sexual.
Yeah, it does. It could be hot. It could be like a super sexy.
What's that, Vampy?
Vampire.
You
What's up,
gonna
Vampy?
suck my brains. What is happening on this show? I want
I
you
take
to
no credit.
well, it's fine with me. This is a free.
Yeah, it's a safe space. Safe space.
100% safe space. Free range. Take anything you want. It's all yours. I do want to ask you about the Canadian industry because you have spent a lot of the time in our industry. And it's a question that I want to ask you personally because I talk to my buddy all the time and we vent about our business because actors, we all have our quarrels and qualms, and producers have their quarrels and qualms, and writers have their quarrels and qualms. My biggest one right now is television shows that film here and the auditions that we get that are going to American actors. Or a lot of times as well, there'll be auditions and you do a really good job with the tape and you spend all the effort on tape, but then you don't think that they're getting seen. On my time on Moonshine, I was talking to one of my US showrunners, and he's obviously British, so he was pretty cool when he said it. He's like, Farid, I don't know what it is, but I keep saying the same guy over and over again for these roles. Like, I love this guy. But why isn't that I couldn't see like blah, 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 sir, or blah, blah, blah? Why does this casting director keep giving me this guy who's been on Degrassi for 6 years? No offense to the guys on Degrassi. I love y'all. But do you find honest to God, do you find as a showrunner that in the process of casting, and of course, like there's times you're going to have ideas of actors that in your Rolodex that you might want to attach to your project, but do you find when you're looking for an actor or a talent or someone in the business, do you find that your selection is limited? Do you often ask, hey, can I see more of this person for this role? Or can I see more selection? Or hey, maybe, you know what I mean? When do you guys get involved in the casting process? And do you find it like what I just described as like the same faces over and over again?
So
it's a tricky question.
No, it's a tricky question, but it's a good question because I think it really depends on who the showrunner is. Because some showrunners want the casting director to go through a bunch of stuff and send them their top 5 or 6. Like I remember when I was working on The Office, we would get we would get casting for a role, and they might have had 50 or 60 people audition, but they would send us their top 6 people. And that's the way that our showrunner liked things. He didn't want to go through a bunch of people to figure out who it was, right? For me, I don't want that. I don't want my casting director doing that much decision making for me. So say I have a role that has like 60 people audition. You can cut it down to 30, but I want to see a bunch of people. You know what I mean? I want to get a good sense of like what's out there. And for me, my casting directors, I always talk to them about that because some casting directors are like, we're only going to send you a couple. And if you're a showrunner who wants more, like there have been times when I know someone auditioned and I didn't get their audition. So I'll be like, hey, can you send me this person's audition or that person's audition? Because I know that they auditioned and I didn't see them. And then usually the casting director is like, yeah, absolutely, I'll send it to you, and then send it through. So it really is up to the showrunner to tell the casting director like how they want to run things. So for me, like for instance, on this show that I'm working on now, we've been casting recently, and for one group of roles, we're looking at like different sketch performers for certain roles, and there were like, I think I watched like 160 auditions.
Oh, jeez.
So
wow.
And it's work on my part, but I feel like a lot of people have put themselves on tape, and it's not an easy thing to do, and it's work. And I've done it myself as an actor. I put myself on tape for things, so I understand the work that comes with it. So I'm going to try and respect as many people's time as possible and watch as many auditions as I can. That's me as a showrunner. A lot of showrunners are also like, I don't have time for this. Just send me your favorite. And so that showrunner in particular, who's probably like, why are they always sending? There's a good chance that casting director has favorites and they want you to cast this person. And then, maybe the person's also very, very good at what they do, and they can play a lot of different characters. They could be a chameleon. So they keep on ending up in their top 6 or whatever. But that's kind of how it works. And I think this place, when I say this place, I mean Canada, there are so many brilliant actors, so many incredible performers. There's no way you should feel, how come there's not enough people here? There's no way you should feel that. Like, even for the smallest roles, I see incredible performers. And especially like right now, like the industry's in a place where things are kind of shrinking. So you have people who are normally doing bigger roles willing to audition for smaller things, right? Because they're like, well, I'm not doing anything else right now. So everyone's kind of like, you're getting a lot of people who are looking at, everything. Right? So,
as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is one of those things where like you're never like there are so many incredible performers in this country. You should never be in a place where you're like, where is everybody? If you're saying that,
I know,
then you don't have the right casting person. Like, or they're just shielding you from a bunch of stuff and just say, hey, take the blinders off, take the shields off, let me see a bunch more people, and then that'll help.
I noticed with COVID, it was a big positive for Canada in the sense the Canadian actors, the Americans that came here had no choice. They had to see Canadian talent. Because first part of my question, I think that's an issue that, we always have debates about, ACTRA talks about, and all that is, Americans come in, they shoot their stuff here, they get the tax credit, but the amount of characters that they cast is like, there's ways around it. Like, you have to have a certain amount of Canadians for this role, and then they hire a Canadian who's like living in the US. You know what I mean? Like, it's a good example of that, where it's like, a certain percentage have to be the leads, but then they'll find loopholes and what have you. Do you find that you notice that? Like, I've noticed, even hearing from casting directors, I'm not gonna, like, shows are coming, and it's like they're doing the casting process just to do the motions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's one of those things where it's like they're looking at the names of these people, and these algorithms are telling them, oh, if you have this person's name, they're attached to these things, and that's going to help your marketing, and this is going to help you that, and blah blah blah. So yeah, and the issue with Canada is that a lot of times if you want to make big bank, you have to move to the States to do that, right? Like, that's kind of the reality of Canadian performers in the situation here. So you move to America, you become a big deal, and then now that these streamers and networks are like, we want to shoot in Canada because the tax credits are good, and because the crews are excellent and all those things, but we do need a Canadian person at the lead. Like, oh well, what's Ryan Reynolds doing? He doesn't live in Canada really anymore, but he's Canadian. And he will give you all the tax credits because you need to live here if you're going to get the full tax credit, but he'll give you enough to make it worthwhile for these streamers and broadcasters who already have enough money to do big budget things. Like, they can just stretch their money further if they're shooting in Canada. So that's why they're doing so. For the bigger roles, they're like, oh, if we can get, like, you see all these big American shows where they cast Canadians who already have like a great pedigree that they can, like, you think about like that show The Sticky. It's not a CanCon show, but they casted Chris Diamantopoulos, who's a Canadian who lives in LA, but he's a Canadian. They can get some tax credits and shoot in Canada and do all those things. And he's a big star from Silicon Valley, and all that he's fantastic. Will Arnett, it's not really, he's a big American star now. Like, there's a lot of famous Canadians that they can pull from to get their shows off the ground. This is another thing too, right? If you want your show to get greenlit, a lot of times they won't give you a green light to make your show unless you have big names attached to it. They feel like it'll be less of a risk if they've got great marketing baked into the series, baked into the show or the movie, whatever it is. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from.
100%. Well said, my man. It's a good segue to the question I'm going to ask you next. If you could change anything in the Canadian industry, what would it be? So if you could wave a magic wand and be like, we're going to stop doing that, or we're going to start doing this, what would that thing be?
I think the thing I would do is I would make residuals a thing. And I understand why it's not a thing right now, because there's not enough money to make it a thing. But I would try and find a way to make the pot bigger, and try and find a way to make the money work in a way where if you make something, there's to replay something, it doesn't just, it's it's not just a cheap, easy thing to do. Like you have to put some money into it. Like it's harder to do here because of the amount of people who are in this country. You need to kind of have an international thing to make it work. But if like I know when I worked on American shows, like I still get residuals from the American shows that I work on, and it's great. Like I feel like it allows for people to feel like they can take bigger chances. They don't feel like they have to work every single. The stress is off. Like if they, they can get a little bit of money, they can from something that they did, 10, 15 years ago. It'll be easier for them to go into retirement. It just feels like that would be a thing that would change the game here in Canada. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I think it's nice that we have our healthcare, pretty much taken care of because of the, the country we live in. And that's not something that's the case in America, right? Like so in America, you can get, even if you're in the union, you can get booted off your healthcare if you don't make a certain amount of money over 6 months. Over 6 quarters. So like over 18 months, if you don't make a certain amount of money, they'll boot you off the healthcare. So it's nice that we have those safety nets here in Canada. But that's, if I could change one thing, I'd be like, oh, you know what? What if actors and writers and directors could get more residuals on things that they make, especially those big shows that do really well internationally?
100%. The residuals are like, it's crazy sometimes to me. I think about, I made more money playing a straw in a Wendy's commercial that went U.S. national than my time on Suits. On Suits, damn it! I got a residual check from Suits, and I'm like, that's it. Yeah. I'm still talking about this damn show, and that's it. Oh my god, I know Canada. It's tough. Your point. It's more. There's a lot more financials to discuss regarding that. It's because of how big our country is and how small our population is, and that's why our phone bill is $100 a month. Thank you, Rogers and Bell. But ought to be a way around that. God dang. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here with Anthony Q. Farrell. I want to ask you one last question, my friend, before we go. It's been such a pleasure chatting with you. And it's a wholesome question that I ask all my guests, and take as much time as you want and take as much time to think about it as you want. But who is, or who are, and it could be multiple, your inspiration to where you are today, and why? Your mentors, guidances, people who keep you going. It could be more than one answer.
Okay. I'm going to give you, I always tell people, like when I was a kid, the 2 movies I watched that kind of started to formulate who I am as a writer, as a comedy writer, comedian, a comedy person. I think it's these 2 movies, and it's the Muppet movie and Blazing Saddles. So I would credit I would credit Jim Henson and Mel Brooks for
a diverse
turning me into the racist Muppet that I am. No, like I think the idea of playing with race and playing with like just vaudeville type comedy and being like, I think all those jokes, I still love that world. And I think for me, like that, whenever I look back at the stuff that I work on, the stuff that I created, I really want to do more of it. It feels like it always kind of comes back to one of those 2 things, or both of them in the same thing. And of course, I'm a big fan of especially big stand-up comedians. Like I watched a ton of Eddie Murphy coming up and Richard Pryor, and all those people were really influential to me when I was coming up. And I watch everything. I love everything, but the things the kernels that started this process was a Muppet movie and Blazing Saddles.
I love the Muppet movies. It's crazy how many times in real life I've actually met the 2 old guys at the top of the theater. Those 2 old dudes.
Oh yeah,
I've met those 2 guys in real life, like people who are those Muppets in real life, like twice. It's crazy. I'm like, that's awesome. Are the Muppet dudes. Like you are the racist but not racist Muppet guys who just like back in my day, blah, 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 blah. Like I've met those guys. It's crazy. Guys, it's your last chance to enter #MeetAQF. Say that 3 times fast before I start to draw. And that gives you a 1-on-1 hour chance to talk to Anthony about the Muppets and why they inspired him today. That's all you can talk about. That's the only context you're allowed to say.
Yeah.
during that.
We got to go. You got to get deep into Muppets. Yeah.
So watch it, or else you won't know what the hell I'm talking about. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Guys, we're gonna give that away. We have some draws. Look at this. Hashtag meet EQF. Hashtag meet AQF. Hashtag you spelt it wrong. No, I'm just kidding, Jamie. You got it right. Hashtag. And we got a guy on YouTube who's just like, hi. And he's got a picture of Tyler, the Creator. Can you talk to me? Please? Sad face. So someone's trolling, I think, for sure. But I want
it's probably my daughter.
I love it. I love it. And then Charlene, bless her, started, hello, shirt guy. Do you have a specific question for our guest? I love how politically correct.
That's so sweet.
So sweet. Charlene is so sweet. Okay, guys, let's do the draw. Let's do the draw. Here we go. How do I do this? Oh, yeah, I share the screen, and then I go giveaway tool, and then I hit share, and here we are. We're going to draw. Hey, Brock Morgan. Congratulations, my friend. You have won a one-on-one session with Anthony Q. Farrell. Guys, Brock Morgan is actually my best buddy, and this was not fixed. It was not fixed. I used a giveaway. I promise you. So I'm happy for him. Congratulations. He's the guy who called me during the damn stream, well knowing I'm on the stream. So
Brock.
But
we're gonna talk about that, Brock, in our one-on-one. We're gonna talk about that for the first 5 minutes.
Brock will teach you. I'll give you a call on how to enter the contest. Thank you, Craig, for joining in. Brian, thank you for joining in, everybody. Anthony, any last bits of chicken nuggets before we go that you want to leave with our audience? Words of inspiration or a joke? It could be all of the above.
Oh my God. I hate inspiring people. No, I'm just joking. The whole thing. So this is what I would say to people as my last little thing. This is one of the most fun things in the world to do, working in the industry, whether you're a showrunner, writer, if you do craft services, if you like whatever it is that you're working on, it is the most fun. And I'm lucky to call myself a person who is working in this industry, but understand it's a lot of hard work. So when you meet people and you're asking them for advice, and be ready to understand that when you come and you're a part of this, you become a part of this group, these professionals that are doing this thing. It's work. It's a job. It's a lot of stuff that goes into it. So don't be afraid of that work. Come ready with your tools and learn as much as you can and do as much as you can. But understand that it's gonna grind. It's gonna grind you down. And if you believe in yourself and you keep on pushing and you keep on putting the work in and you keep preparing so that when the opportunity comes, you're gonna be all right.
100%.
Did that work? Did that inspire?
Oh, I feel inspired as hell. I feel inspired and perspired. And
nice.
And something else that rhymes with those two words, which we'll find out after I log out. And I would have been like, shit, I should have said that. Guys, we're back at Entertainment 411 with my whole new library. I'm coming at you live from the East End because I just moved down from the West End and I miss it so. But now I'm an East Ender, a little snobbier, and can take my dogs to the dog park. We have a couple more shows coming up for you, ladies and gentlemen. On Friday, June the 6th, Anne-Marie Morris. I'm sure Anthony knows her very well. Yeah. Another great big dog in the industry. And then we also, I can't remember the date. Charlene's going to tell me in 2 seconds in the private chat, but we do have an interview with the cast tomorrow with the cast of Charlene. You going to put it up on the screen or are you going to tell me? I'm waiting for it. She's typing. Final Destination, guys. That's right. Final Destination. I knew what the answer was. I was waiting for the pause, the dramatic pause. So the Canadian cast of Final Destination is going to be joining us tomorrow on the stream.
Bloodlines.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So make sure y'all tune in for that. It's going to be quite a show. There will be a live Final Destination death on the stream, probably. I'm just kidding. That's not gonna happen. Can you imagine? That'd be really weird. No, it's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. It's a PG show. It's not going to happen. This is my dog that Style was barking all the time. We were here live with Anthony Q. Farrell. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Have a good night. And as always, make sure you watch the stream after and share with your friends. Hit like and subscribe. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Sometimes I can't.